Welcome to the Kayak Bass Connection podcast. I'm your host, Jared. This episode is for all you new folks out there that are just thinking about getting into kayak fishing and maybe doing your first tournament season. Or you're an experienced angler who wants to figure out how to finish a little better on tournament day. We've got a fantastic panel for a roundtable discussion today geared towards learning how to handle your first experience with a kayak tournament. We have some really experienced anglers and some not so experienced anglers with us. So first of all, I want to welcome my co-host. First time I've had a co-host. This is cool. Josh Lincoln, the director of the Southern Illinois Kayak Club Tournament Trail. Welcome, Josh.
Happy to be a co-host. First time I've ever been a co-host, so hopefully I don't mess it up too bad.
Yeah. We also have 3 anglers join us that were rookies last year on Josh's Tournament Trail. Dave Gewitt. Did I say that right, Dave?
Yes, you did.
All right. Awesome. Caden Cox and James Fott. So David, Caden, James, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, no problem.
Absolutely.
So if we're going to talk about newbie experiences, I tell you, I think we've probably all of us have had that sleepless night before your first kayak tournament, wondering what you're going to do when you get there. Try not to look like an idiot when you show up. I know for me, slept maybe an hour or two that night, showed up at the ramp, and the whole parking lot's full of guys with big rigs and figured they looked like they knew what they were doing. And here I was. Anybody else have an interesting experience on their first attempt at a tournament trail?
Yeah, well, so I was fishing probably for a whole summer and then a little bit of the previous summer before I started fishing tournaments. I think most of you guys probably know Butters or Brian Butterfield. And I've known him for a long time, and he's always done tournaments. So I thought about giving it a try because sports, just whatever. And I want to do some fishing. So I finally was able to drive this past year tournament season. So I gave the tournament a try. Fortunately, I was pretty lucky on my first tournament, which was actually in Iowa, closer to where I live. There's more tournaments in Iowa than SIG. And I went to it, and it snowed the whole time and was raining, and I ended up catching a limit, and I didn't go 100 yards from the ramp, so it was fairly easy. A good day. The fish were biting on a wacky rig. They didn't change anything all day. Solid top 10 finish, and there was only 12 guys out there, so it was a pretty good day. But I will say, I think I fished 8 tournaments this last season, is what I'm going to call it, and I think the worst one I had was the one I was looking most forward to at Banner. We pulled up. I was with Brian. We pulled up to, I think we fished Shovel Lake, and I'm backing my kayak down the ramp because I had wheels on it, and I went swimming with it because it blew me right in. And so that was a good way to start it off. And
that was a cold morning too. I remember that rainstorm kind of blew in, and it was a little chilly.
And I had all my gear on. I had my rain jacket, my bibs.
Ooh.
So,
oh man!
But hey, it's all worth it in the end. It's fun.
Dang.
Now, James, I heard you had a heck of a story about your first tournament.
Yeah. Well, to talk about what Caden said there, Banner. Yeah. I went to Banner, and that was the farthest tournament for me, and I was really anxious about that tournament. Ended up getting hooked up with Lee, and we, he ended up showing me at the ramp. Well, my steering cable broke on my kayak. So I could pedal, but I couldn't steer. So I used my paddle to steer the entire day we fished that, the tournament day. The practice was fine. We fished practice together. Me and Lee caught a couple good fish, felt pretty good about the pattern I'd put together. And then the next morning, my steering cable broke. Oh no, I guess it was the morning of the pre-fish on Friday. Steering cable broke. So I ended up fishing the rest of that day. We didn't cover a lot of water, but caught one good fish, and I had a pretty good feeling about my pattern. And then I fixed the next day of the tournament with steering cable broke. So literally had my paddle underneath my arm acting as a rudder the whole time I was pedaling. So, but yeah, my first true tournament experience was Newton. And, I'd never done kayak tournaments before and really had never done tournament fishing before, but, got hooked up with guys in the club and talked to Josh a lot and talked to Kessler and a couple other guys. And, so I was like, let's go try it. And so I go up there on Friday, pre-fish, and I cannot catch a fish to save my life. And I'm getting super frustrated because Kessler's texting me. He's like, I just caught another 17. I caught a 19. I caught a 20. And I'm like, dude, I can't catch a fish. And finally, I put together a jig pattern late that day and a drop shot pattern or Texas rig pattern. and caught a few fish and felt good about the next morning, and went out the next morning and, didn't catch a fish. And Josh came by to take some photos and chat for a little bit. And we talked a little bit about, technique. And I was like, it's almost 9:00 and I haven't got a fish on the board yet. And I know other guys have got big fish on the board. Not looking to win this tournament, but I'm looking to do something. And so Josh made a suggestion. And about 30 minutes later, I caught an 18 and put it on the board. And actually had the board in my lap, and no net, no fence, no nothing. Had the board in my lap, had this 18 on the board. I got my phone over the top of it, got GoPros going. I got it all on camera, and I went to take the picture. About the time you could see my thumb going down to take the picture, the fish flopped out off the board, and I lost it. so now I've got an 18-inch fish that I've lost, and in my first tournament ever, an 18-inch fish is a good fish, especially for your first fish of the day.
Yeah.
And so I fished for a little bit longer. Ended up catching a 15.5, got a picture of it, got it submitted. Everything was good. And about 30 minutes later, I had a 16.5, had it on the board, was about to take a picture just like the 18, and the fish went to the left and my board went to the right. And I lost my catch board, lost my fish. And, doing the math, let's say that I caught the 18, the 15.5, and a 16. If I'd have had those 3 fish plus 2 other fish that measured, we're talking about a top limit. Yeah, we're talking about a 15, a top 15 limit.
Yeah.
And if I'd have caught one other kicker, we're talking about a top 10 finish in my first tournament.
Sure.
And I ended up getting with Josh. I pedaled back because Newton's cell phone service for AT&T at least is not any good. So I pedaled back out of this cove I was in and got to a spot where finally I had service. I called Josh. I said, dude, I just lost I've lost an 18. I caught a 15.5 and I lost a 16.5, 16, whatever it was. But I lost my catch board when I lost the 16. And he said, well, I've got one in the truck. I'm on, this other, other in the lake. So he met me back at the ramp, got me another board, and I could not catch a fish the rest of the day to save my life.
Yeah.
So
I think you were just in your own headspace, which I think a lot of new anglers face, especially on their first tournament day. You just kind of get into that mode where you think you got to put those first 5 fish on the board in the first hour of the tournament. And if you don't, you automatically feel like you're behind or you're doing something wrong. And reality is probably 75% of the field doesn't have their limit in that first hour. So, I mean, it's not that you're doing anything wrong, but you build it up in your head and you're thinking, and the world's crashing down on you,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly what it was. I probably wasted an hour going to meet Josh, going to the ramp, getting a board, and getting back to my spot. My spot was 15 minutes from the ramp. Not a long ways, but you 15 there and 15 back, plus piddling around at the ramp, trying to get a board and everything else, and and by the time I got back out, I was so in my head. I literally tried everything I could do to get back in a mental space that made sense, and I just never did. And I didn't catch another fish the rest of the day. I say that. I caught a 12, about an hour left to go. Caught a 12-inch fish. But
you bring up a great point, though, is the mental part, and then there's the fishing part, right?
Yep.
So especially as a new angler showing up there, you have to have your mental game. What are some of the mental things that you guys think a new person needs to think about? What's the mindset you want to have?
I think the very first thing is when you show up at the tournament morning, it's your very first tournament, whether it's with us or anybody, don't be intimidated by the other guys at the ramp. When you pull up and you see a guy loading a Hobie off his trailer and it's got live scope on it, don't be intimidated. Gear doesn't catch fish. Anglers catch fish. I mean, it can help you, but I've also seen it hurt people too. So just fish your confidence baits and have fun. Yeah,
have fun. That's it. Have fun. If you go in with that mindset, I think you win. You look at Darren, what Darren did last year with winning AOI and the tournament at Cedar, right, Josh? His drive was broke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His pedal drive broke 5 minutes into that tournament.
Yeah. On the way out, we were pedaling beside each other, and he was like, dude, what in the world's going on? And I looked over, he's 5 feet from me, and I said, did your drive just quit? And he said, yeah, it's locked up. He couldn't move it either way. So he literally pulled it and started paddling. and he ended up catching an astronomical amount of fish that day, and won that tournament. Right, Josh?
Yeah, he won it with like 93 inches, I believe.
Yeah. So, gear. Have fun and don't be so hung up on gear. Like, don't worry about that. Just go out and catch fish how you know how to catch fish.
Yeah.
Awesome. Caden,
my thing was
you're fading in. Your audio's fading in a little bit there, but so I think what I heard you say was, fish what you know, fish the techniques you know, and that you said Tourney X was a stumbling block for you in the beginning.
Yeah, because I didn't have very good signal, so I wasn't sure what to do. And I was worried.
That's a great point. If anybody is out there fishing their first tournament and they can't upload submissions, just take a bunch of photos with your phone, and then when you get back to the ramp or you find a spot that's got good signal, you can submit your fish. I find it easier to take pictures via my phone camera app versus actually opening up the Tourney X and trying to take them through there. That's a huge takeaway for somebody that's new. That way you can snap 15, 20 photos and get the best one versus trying to take one individually.
Yeah, something Kessler told me when I got started on that point, Dave, is he'll take a bunch of photos of his fish on his board, and he'll take a picture of the sky, and then next fish he'll take a bunch of pictures of board. And so what I started doing was I would take pictures on my board, and I would take a selfie with the fish, and I would only take one, so I'd make sure I had what I wanted for like using for social media or whatever. And then the next fish, then I post or take pictures with my phone. And then at some point during the day when I just want to sit back and take a break, then I'll go through and upload those. Everybody in the top 5, you're not going to see their fish until the tournament's over, right? Because everybody sandbags. So maybe the top 10 even. So it's not crucial that you get your photos submitted and uploaded at the time you catch them. Just make sure you have a way to separate each fish. So when you flip back through your photos, it's easier to designate, okay, this is a different fish from this. And then you have everything you need to submit.
And one of my biggest takeaways, Josh, he mentioned each, hold one finger out on the fish, and then 2, and then 3, looking.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, I started utilizing that. Great takeaway from our group leader. That was amazing. Big help.
Yeah, that's super smart, Josh.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's little things to help you sort through all your photos throughout the day. Personally, I like it when people don't sandbag because I'm judging fish, and the quicker they get submitted, the quicker I can get them judged and get everybody home that much quicker. But yeah.
Never going to change them.
Probably not. No. And by the way, I'm sure most tournament trails probably do this. Josh, you want to explain about the cutoff for the leaderboard? Because I know a lot of people will watch that.
Yeah, I personally cut the leaderboard at 12 each day, right at noon, just to kind of keep some mystery. Because I watch the leaderboard if I'm fishing and I think I'm doing well. It just kind of, okay, I don't know what's going to happen next. Versus having a leaderboard on the whole day, everybody already gets back to the ramp and they knew who came in first, second, and third, and it's a little less fun, if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But if I can get back to the mental aspect, I think the biggest takeaway for somebody new is mistakes will happen on the water. You'll lose a fish. You'll have a fish flop off your board. Don't dwell on them, and then don't miss the next opportunity thinking about how you ruined the previous one, and don't beat yourself. Yeah,
the keeping the right headspace, I think, is the number one thing that someone should, that past the safety issues, make sure you're safe. But you got to just realize that unless you're an incredible angler that just knows that fishery inside and out, show up with realistic expectations. You're probably joining a field of 25, 30, 40. You're probably not going to win, but set yourself some expectations. I want to have 5 fish on the board at the end of the day, something like that, and just work towards that.
Yeah, that's the best goal you can have, I think, is just trying to catch 5.
Yep.
And if you struggle and don't catch 5, I mean, it happens, But I think just having a realistic goal, like catching 5 fish in 8 hours, like there's nothing wrong with that goal. And if you could catch 5 fish in a tournament and that proves that you got your head in a space that makes sense, that's beneficial to you. And you never know when you're going to set the hook on a 20.
That's right.
You know, I mean, I caught a 19.5 yesterday. Never expected to catch a big fish yesterday. And my fourth cast caught a 19.5, and I caught a 13 or 14 inch fish. That's all I caught in 4 hours. It's wintertime, and I get it, but that 19.5 made the trip worth it. And that set me up for a good confidence the rest of the day. But I just, after 10, 15 more casts, I didn't get another bite, didn't catch another fish. It was like, just have fun, just fish, and that's it. Because it's not fun, it's not worth doing.
Right.
Yeah, it's like nobody's there making a living, and so enjoy yourself first of all, be safe and enjoy yourself, and then let everything build up on that. I was going to bring up a comment. We had a discussion in the members only group with Sick, trying to bring up some of those comments. I found one that I really liked that kind of hits to this point is Nick Chibera. I think I'm saying his last name right there. Don't be intimidated.
Chibaria.
Okay.
Chibaria. Yeah.
Don't be intimidated by other anglers, equipment, electronics, kayaks. Gear doesn't catch fish. Anglers do. Fish tournaments with the kayak equipment you have and what you're comfortable with. Over time, you'll figure out what gear needs upgrading. But if you don't need to spend a fortune to finish up front in these tournaments. Absolutely. I've been whooped time and time again by somebody in a ultra cheap paddle kayak with 1 or 2 poles on board. So you don't need to spend thousands of dollars. That's the kind of the beauty, I think, of this sport, right? The accessibility. So
yeah,
exactly right. You could be entry level or full blown and still hang the best. But like you guys said, your mind to be in it. Fish for fun.
All right. So we talked about the mental side of getting prepared. So Josh, as far as a tournament director, what kind of things do you think a new member of a club should expect? Hey, I've just signed up for the year. The member, and maybe this is a good time to explain why clubs have membership fees in addition to just your entry fees.
Yeah, typically clubs have membership fees, and like we do, is it goes to all the little things throughout the year. So like we give away T-shirts each year to our members. It gets all of our identifiers. It gets our prizes. It's website fees. All of those little things that most people don't even think about that go into it, which helps. But yeah, the typical question I get when somebody says, "Hey, I just signed up. What is required of me to fish in this tournament?" And it's real simple. You have to have a good PFD that feels comfortable to you. That's got to be worn 100% of the time when you're in our tournaments. You have to have a catch board. And if you're new to Sick, we can get you a discount code to catch before you order one, so we can save you some money if you're a member with us. A whistle or some kind of signaling device. So if a boat's coming right at you or something, or you need help, you can call somebody down. An Illinois fishing license. It's something that a lot of people don't think about if they're not focused on it. And then it's not required, but we highly recommend it, is a visibility flag and a 360 light. But those are like the bare minimums to get into the tournament.
So no, because we as an angler or as a tournament director, there's a limit to the number of people that you can allow in the club, right?
Yeah, we're going to set our cap at 60 members this year. And most of our permits are pulled for like 50. So a lot of our tournaments will be maxed at 50. But that's standard tournament practice. Not everybody's going to show up. We're not going to get 100% turnout.
Yeah. So you have to apply for these tournaments, apply for these permits early. You've already applied for all of them and been awarded all of them for the next season. So you've got to know how many anglers the maximum number that they'll allow in that piece of water. Because a lot of times there are other tournaments going on.
Yeah, for sure. And certain lakes are easier to have more boats on it, and certain lakes limit the number of boats that you can have on there. So we got to follow all the laws and regulations that are set for us. Make sure we're doing everything by the books. The other thing I will recommend as well is a leash for your phone. I can't tell you how many guys in the club have lost their phones over their kayaks, including myself. My phone took a swim at Newton a few years back. So a leash for your phone will save you a lot of money and heartache.
Yeah.
Caden, what did you find out that you might need that you didn't have the first time you were in a tournament?
Okay. Definitely not knowing not having a plan. There wasn't anything I didn't already have because I've been fishing for a long time. I buy more stuff than what I need, lures, whatever. I got all the extra, but definitely not having a plan. I didn't really know the lake. I pulled up the first time, looked at it on Google Maps, but I had never been there. I didn't pre-fish it. It's hard to get away on a Thursday or Friday to pre-fish it when you're still in school or just whatever. I mean, it was just hard for me to get away. So I didn't have a plan. I followed one guy. He told me where to go. I don't know if it's the right spot. I ended up catching fish, but I didn't have a plan. And I think having a plan and a good mindset and wanting to follow your plan, not change your mind. That's what helps me. I always have to have a plan now after fishing a couple tournaments. I always look on. I know quite a bit of people, or I'll just text them on Messenger and say, "Hey, what do you think I should do?" Somebody will always give you a piece of advice too.
Yeah.
And when you pull up to the ramp, that's go shake somebody's hand, make a friend.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. And don't be, especially in our club, I know, don't hesitate to just walk up to somebody you don't know and introduce yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think most clubs are that way. People are friendly.
Yep. I think I fished in 4 or 5 different ones, and I think I met one mean guy, and that was just because he was having a bad day.
Oh, that's
I'm surprised you found one bad guy.
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool about Southern Illinois Kayak Club is I haven't found it anywhere else in competitive fishing where everybody is just so nice and welcoming and open to how they're catching fish and what they're doing. And I know a couple people have mentioned to me, like in their first tournament, they were very concerned about like getting in the way or ruining somebody else's day. And I want everybody to know that all the new members are so welcome and that we want them there and we want them to succeed. So if you have questions, ask. If you see somebody, say hello. We'll all be super welcoming and just say, hello, hey, what you doing? How's your kayak? And just dive into friendship. I think James can speak for that firsthand from last season.
Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't for a few of the guys in the club, I fish at Cedar a lot because it's my home lake. Technically, I guess it's close enough for me to go and fish. And I mean, on the way over yesterday, right before I left, I text Kessler and I was like, "Hey, I'm going to Pomona because I don't have time to put in at the north ramp and I don't fish the south end. Tell me what to do." And he told me what to do. And, now what he told me to do was throw a jig here and there and all these points. And I just threw a jig like twice, but I'm trying to force myself to fish a jig more because it seems like guys at the top are always catching them on jig. But, you have to throw what you're confident in. And, for me, wintertime jerk bait, it just makes sense. So that's what I did. But so many times I've been, at our Cedar tournament, I ran into Darren Hemker and he told me, he's like, "Dude, I watched him catch a 17 in front of me." I mean, we're talking 10 feet in front of me. And I was like, gosh, dang. And I had a pretty good day at Cedar. I didn't have a winning bag by any means, but I had a limit early, and rightfully so because I fished Cedar a lot, and I just didn't have big fish. And I watched him catch a 17 10 feet from me, and I was like, gosh, dang it, you got to be kidding me. I didn't say anything. I was like, dude, that's an awesome fish. I had a little bit of on my GoPro because we were so close, and so a few minutes later, he catches an 18, and I'm like, he said, "Dude, come over here and fish with me. Like, we'll fish the rest of the day together." And I was like, "No, this is your deal. You've got a chance at winning AOY." He said, "Dude, I've already won AOY. I know I have." And I was like, "It doesn't matter. You don't know that for sure, but I do believe you probably do because I had a pretty good idea of what he had caught that day." And finally, he caught another fish that was, I think, 19. And we're talking about 30-minute span. And he said, I was already around the point, and he hollered, he said, "James, I got another big one on." And I was like, I said, "Whatever." And I just kept on throwing what I was throwing. And he said, "Dude, get around here." He's still laying in the fish. And so I pedaled back around there and I watched him pull this big fish out of the water. And I was like, "How big is that one?" 18 and a half. I was like, gosh, dang. I said, all right, what'd you catch it on? He said, this jig right here. And he dug in his tackle box after he got the fish measured and threw me a jig. And he said, it's a jig almost like this. And second cast with that jig after I tied it on, I caught a 17.5. And I was like, all right. So I ended up finishing, my best finish of the season was at Cedar, and it was an 8th place finish. And it was, the top 10 was pretty stacked at Cedar. And I don't know what won it. I don't remember the number, but to have 80 inches and finish 8th, I was super happy with that, and it was, 3 of the fish that I put on my board that made it to my 5 fish bag were off the jig that Darren gave me,
so that's something. Yeah.
Yeah. I just can't imagine you see that much anywhere else. I fished boat tournaments with a buddy on Thursday nights, and you catch anything? No, I ain't caught a fish yet. Well, no one I've seen them catch 3. They just, everybody's tight-lipped, and that's fine. I like the competition. I like the secrets, but at the same time, this club, I've caught a bunch of big fish this year in my first year because of things I learned from the guys in the club almost solely. Some things I picked up on my own and some things I focused on. And, I got buddies that are good bass fishermen that fish boat tournaments, and they tell me some things, but, for the most part, it's been conversations we've had with the group that have been, instrumental in me being able to put up, a good, even looking at the year, my 5 big fish for the year was a really good bag, so.
And I'll throw out there another really good way to improve yourself is to go back and listen to our old episodes. This is episode 12 of the podcast, and there's a lot of good chunks of information that some of our kayak anglers have laid down on that during these interviews. Just tons of information. There are other resources out there as well. One of my favorites is the Paddle and Fin Network. They have a great podcast. The Bass Fishing for Noobs is one that I listen to all the time when that got started. It really helped me out a lot to listen to that. But there's all sorts of resources out there that you can start digging. Don't be afraid to call up the tournament director. If you just join a new tournament, say, hey, I'm brand new. What should I know?
Yeah. Josh was a huge help to me in the beginning.
Yeah, my line's always open. I'm here to help. That actually kind of goes into the next point I was going to say is if you sign up for the club, very new to kayak fishing, go start practicing taking photos of fish as soon as you can and get as many on the board before that first tournament as possible. And if you're not sure if you're doing it right, either post it in our members only page and we can all comment on there, or send it to me directly and I'll give you instant feedback of, yeah, you're doing this right. Or, hey, you might want to watch this. This could get you a deduction, or just kind of give you some general guidelines. So that way, when you're there in that first tournament and you got that first big fish on the board and your heart's just pounding, you've done it 40 times, 30 times at this point, and it's not the first or the second time you've done it. Yeah. And that'll just save you a lot of heartache for sure.
Yeah.
That's a great point. The whole idea of taking photos, uploading photos, it sounds simple until you add adrenaline, a confined space. Gaten, go ahead.
And a big fish in 5 minutes. I remember Sancris. That was one of my most memorable ones. Is I went offshore. I've caught some fish. We're going back to the ramp. I know most of you guys know Kevin Cox. He's been on the show a couple times.
Yeah,
he's really good. I'm fishing right next to him. He's fishing by the bank, and I roll over this tree. It's like 25 foot of water right around the curve at St. Chris. It's there. Somebody else can go fish it. I cast into it. One cast, first drop. It's going down. It hasn't even hit the ground. My bait starts going. 19 something, I think. And I was excited. I'm taking pictures of myself, put it on the board. I think I took 2 pictures. One of them was blurry, and the other one, my finger is over the eye. And I remember there was I think it was somebody else had the same, and I just happened to have a fish that was bigger second. I think, Josh, do you remember that?
Yeah, I think it was a tie for big bass that day, and I think you had the tiebreaker fish. I think your next fish was biggest. Just going off memory.
But just slowing down, taking a picture and relaxing. Let the fish sit in the water for a second if you got pliers or like the fish grip pliers, whatever. Just relax. Make sure your pictures count. Take more than 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I take a bunch every fish, and then I'll put it in the net if it's a big one that I know it's going to matter. I'll put it back in the net on a leash, and I'll look at my photos really close, study them, make sure I've got, and to my knowledge, I've never submitted a photo that didn't take, you know what I mean? That didn't work. And it was because I learned early on, like, this is part of the game. Like, being able to, get a fish in the boat, people can do that. But to get a fish on a board and get a photo of it that meets all the requirements, like that's an art form in itself. And you have to be able to do that to be able, to win. You have to be to even submit a fish. So super important to slow down, think about what you're doing, check your photos before you let the fish go. Because once it's gone, it's gone.
That's a super big tip, James. I had to deny my own photo last year. I can't remember. It might have been the Kincaid tournament. And I didn't have my wristband in the photo. It was a great photo. Everything else was good, but the wristband wasn't there. So unfortunately, had to deny my own fish,
Oh, man. That'd be tough.
But yeah, so that's where it goes into. If I would have taken the 30 extra seconds to scan through my photos and look for it, I would have been saved, and I might have had another top 5 finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tidied up there.
Does anybody else? I know I've got my camera on and ready to go before that fish even hits that board. So as soon as it goes up there, I'm just click and
yeah.
Right.
Another thing that's frustrated me is when your fingers get wet and your touchscreen won't work on your phone.
It's raining.
It's raining. So I started using voice commands on my phone to take pictures, and that's helped. So anytime if you hear me on the water and I say cheese real loud, that's me taking pictures.
Oh, that's good.
So when I hear you say cheese, I'll just pull my kayak behind yours and start fishing where you're at.
Yeah.
Right.
How do you know if it's uploaded successfully, Josh?
If it's uploaded successfully, it'll say your submission was submitted. And then once it is approved, you'll get a notification on your phone and it'll be like, your fish is approved, or you'll get a say, hey, it was not approved, it was denied. And then it would give a reason, or it might say, hey, there was a deduction, and it would give a reason of why. Maybe it was open mouth or, improper hand placement, whatever it may be.
Okay. Yeah, that was a big, just makes me feel good when I get a text message back that says your fish has been accepted. It's like, all right, everything was good there. I've also got the one that says your fish was rejected, but that's a good learning opportunity because they usually put a note on there and why it wasn't accepted. And a couple of times I've been able to go find a photo that did, have the mouth shut or something like that and get that up. So.
Yeah, and that's a big thing with SIKC is we will always give our members the benefit of the doubt. So if you posted a fish and it's got an open mouth, I'm going to come back to you and say, hey, I don't want to deduct this. Do you have another photo that's got a closed mouth and we can use that one instead? So take multiple pictures, and if something doesn't work out, we'll go through multiple photos and we try to get what you've earned, I guess is the best way to put it.
Another thing with phones is make sure GPS location is enabled in your pictures because it gets read on the app. I had that off once and submitted, I think, 3 or 4 fish before I knew that. So make sure it's so bad. My wife now, when I get ready to go to a tournament, she's like, "Don't forget to turn your GPS on your phone."
Josh, wasn't there something at Kincaid where a fish got denied? It was a big fish.
Yeah, was Nick's big fish.
Maybe Nick?
Yeah, it was Nick. I believe it was
what was the story with that?
He was touching the tail improperly. We switched to the KBF rules where you can only touch the center of the fish. And unfortunately, he only took 2 photos and they were both touching the tail, unfortunately. So, but he was awesome. He took the news well. I don't know if I would have taken the news of a 21-inch fish getting denied. It was a monster fish. So, but he's awesome.
Yeah.
Can't say enough good things about that. I think. And if you're wondering, we keep talking about the KBF rules. I mean, it's kayak bass fishing, and if you go to their website, they have a really good explanation on their website of what their rules are. As most tournament trails, I know some of the grassroots tournament trails, they just say we're adopting KBF rules. So rules is another thing. Maybe Josh, you want to chime in on this? how important is reviewing all the rules?
Oh, it's super important because I mean, you can be doing one little thing and you can get denied or disqualified for the whole tournament. So I mean, you just got to make sure you know your rules forward and backwards. And then if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I think the very first tournament of this upcoming season, we're going to do an online like digital captains meeting, so that way that morning of the first tournament, that frees me up a little bit more to have some one-on-one time with the new anglers that I can answer all of those questions. And then get everybody out on the water on time in a successful manner.
That's a great idea. So as far you talked about having time with newer anglers early in the morning, so kind of walk us through, when you show up, most people will arrive well before they can launch to get their gear ready and whatnot. So how does that morning and then fast forward to the afternoon, how does that unfold as far as a tournament director?
And I'm just going to kind of give an overview of a tournament day for a new guy. You show up to the ramp, whether it's the night before or super early. Every tournament in our Tourney X details, there'll be a time on the water that everybody can safely get onto the water. So after that time, you can load, you can launch, and then there'll be like a staging area where you can stay until it's officially like blast off time. Usually it's like 6 o'clock or 6:30, depending on the sun up time. And then you fish all day. You come back to the ramp, make sure you're back by the check-in time, and then we'll do our very best to get the fish submitted and judged real quick. We usually do a prize raffle while the judges are working on getting everything submitted. We'll present the winners, present big bass, and then take some pictures and shake hands, have a good time.
Yeah. One thing for me that always has thrown me in the past is that I know you guys as tournament directors and the people that are helping you judge, you're busy. Everybody's putting their gear away. You've got to kind of keep an eye to see when the tournament director is ready to have that meeting. There's not a specific time generally,
no.
Right? But it's just when everybody gets when the measurements are done and ready to go. So we want to make sure you get back to wherever they're having that meeting at before they start.
Yeah. As soon as we finish up the judging, I usually send a couple guys out just to kind of round everybody up that's still there. And then, because my main goal is I know a lot of people travel far distances to come to our tournaments. So I want to have a really good show, a really good presentation, but I also want to get people back on the roads at a reasonable time so they can make it back and actually have some sleep, because I know a lot of guys have sacrificed a lot of sleep just getting there,
Mm-hmm. Yep. A lot of folks sleeping at the ramp and the night before for those tournaments.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
What about practice fishing for tournaments? Is there anything you guys do now that maybe you didn't do before?
Yeah, I'll go with that one. So I think the only 2 lakes, and I fished, like I said, 8 or 9 tournaments this last season. 2 of them I had fished before. The rest of them were rolling up morning of, and that was difficult. I guess the only way I could figure it out was word of mouth by somebody else from past experiences, or going on like maps, Google Maps, trying to figure out if I can change settings to where I can see ditches or whatever, going on the DNR website, because they have brush piles. If you can go look on there, if there's brush piles or bridges or telephone poles that they have put out there, they'll put that on a map, and that stuff can kind of help you out. I'm not very good with reading my electronics, so I might roll over it twice and not even see it. But knowing kind of where that stuff is and fishing that area, that has helped me out. And so, like, I don't know, this is a good tip. Certain lakes that we can have a tournament on, if you find a pinch point, you're going to find fish there. I mean, with channels and stuff, I'll go to a pinch point, and that's something you don't have to practice. You just know there might be a fish or two there that you can just get in the boat if you can get in the bite. And pinch points, deep spots, mounds, whatever. I think looking at maps can be very, very crucial. And like another thing is, if you're going to go practice the day of, like I had before, I might not go to a spot where I know I'm going to catch a fish. I'll venture out. If I'm getting a bite there, I'll try to go back and catch them on what I was the day before if I do practice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, starting with some of those suspect places. Yesterday I caught that fish it was a place that historically I've seen guys catch fish, talked to guys catching fish, since I'm not familiar with the south end of Cedar as much as the north. And, I caught that fish in a pitch point. It was a narrow spot where the lake kind of necks down into opens up to some other stuff. And that fish was sitting there because, the wind was right. The wind was blowing up through there. So it had current, and that's where that fish was at. So, fishing what Caden, I think that's
one of the biggest things is sticking to what you know and what baits. I have one bait that I have a pole, and I don't think I've changed the weight all season just because I haven't broke it off, and it's a Texas rig. Rig with a D-bomb. That's every lake I fish that, no matter where. That's
you
what
put that D-bomb on a jig, then you'll be like Kessler.
Yeah, well.
So we want to see you beat him with that Texas rig.
You're asking for a lot with that one.
That is a lot. That is a lot to ask. And I think Dave had mentioned that earlier. Fish what you know, and do it.
Yeah, because it goes back to the confidence, and if you have confidence in throwing something, your mental game is going to be better.
Absolutely.
So get confident in what you're going to throw.
Yep. Yeah. And practicing a day before, I pre-fished Sancris the Friday before the tournament, and I don't think I even picked up a rod in the afternoon. I just drove around and marked some of those mounds where I spent most of the afternoon. There were some rock piles where Kessler and I don't even remember who else was out there. There was a couple guys out there sitting way deep, and I had marked those rocks too, and we all showed up there. Marking landmarks, if you can work your electronics, can be helpful if it's that time of the year.
Yeah, no doubt.
Iconelli that says, I think he's got it famous for saying, fish the moment. So a lot of times when I'm like practicing and I find a pattern, but I show up on tournament day and conditions have changed, whether it's wind, rain, sun. And often I find myself trying to catch them like I did on practice when I should look at the conditions and say, okay, well, that's not going to work. This will work, or this might, and try and fish the moment if you're struggling on a day where they're not like they were in practice.
Yeah, I can always got another saying that I love. I'd love to find a sticker or something with this. It just says, never give up. Never give up. And I think that is also part of that mental attitude. You get out there and you have an hour or two that was bad. And you can't catch anything when you should have caught something. Don't give up. Just keep plugging along.
And that's our kind of whole schedule for like a Rookie of the Year award or an Angler of the Year award. It's your best 4 out of 6 tournaments. So even if you have one bad tournament, don't give up. It's not going to count against you. Fish harder the next time and make it count,
All right. So guys, we're closing in about 50 minutes here. Let's go ahead and work on closing the conversation down. Do you have any further kind of parting thoughts for new anglers, somebody that just purchased their membership for Southern Illinois Kayak Club or another club, is getting ready for the tournament season next year? Josh,
I would say if I was a brand new member, new to kayak fishing, I just got into like our sick members only Facebook page. Don't be afraid to reach out to some of our club members. We all want to go fishing with you. We would love to show you the ropes, get on the water with you, show what we do to measure fish, and kind of give you a rundown of what we do. We'd love to help you and make you be successful.
Outstanding. Dave, any final thoughts?
No, I agree with Josh. And Caden. I mean, I loved my first year. I'm ready for the next year. I'm going to this year with way more confidence. We're going to give her hell this year.
Heck yeah.
All right. Like the attitude. Absolutely. Caden, what's your final parting thoughts here?
Definitely meet new people. I guess if it wasn't for knowing people and meeting people throughout of it, I probably wouldn't even do the tournaments. I know Josh, I guess. I don't really know Jared or James or Dave. I haven't really ventured out that much, but I've met a few guys like Cody and Brian, and Susie. She's been nice to me. Everybody's nice. So, I mean, shake some hands. That's a big player too. Meet new people, go fish with somebody, follow them around. Boat fishing and kayak fishing is 2 different things, and I'd rather fish kayak tournaments than I would boat tournaments because everybody's your friend, and that's what it's for. You're going for a good time. So
some great advice, young man.
Yeah.
Great advice. James, another young man. What do you think?
I wish. I mean, I could echo what everybody else said for sure. The one thing that I've tried to really focus on is have fun. Don't take it too serious. Definitely bring a competitive edge, and try to challenge yourself to upgrade everything you do. But just definitely just have fun, talk to people, meet people. Like Josh said, post in our members only group. Once you're in the club, post in the members only group. Other clubs have the same thing. So if you're in another club on the other side of the country, get involved with those groups, get involved with those conversations, because they're, as silly as some of our private message groups get, there's a lot of information in there that I've got, and just different lures and things like that, or just little tweaks and changes. Pick up on all those little things. But then remember that, like, it doesn't take gear to catch fish. You just got to put a bait in front of the right fish. And that's, study everything you do, make every fish be a clue. And you can learn a lot from every fish that you catch. How it bit, was the lure inside of its mouth or on the outside of its mouth? Like, was it a reaction bite? Was it a feeding bite? Like, there's all kinds of little things to learn, and pick up on all those little things and bounce things off of other people. And, a lot of times in conversation, I learn a lot from just talking to other people and saying the things, and as soon as it comes out of my mouth, I'm like, why didn't you do that, James, when you were fishing yesterday? But there's a plethora of information at our fingertips, but the people that are kind of your core group and in your club, they're going to know more about any place we fish than anybody else. And we have some incredible anglers in our group. So
that's great.
Stay plugged in.
Keep the nose at the grindstone. I'm going to give a parting thought here, is that what I try to always remember when I show up at any tournament is the moment that my vehicle hits that lot, the morning of the tournament, I have won something. Okay. So think about less than 1% of the population of the world has fishing as a leisure time. And we're actually getting together with a bunch of people with shared ideals, shared interest, and enjoying the day. Okay. So yes, I want to be competitive. I still have yet to cash a check, and I'm going to do that from one tournament. But realize that when you showed up and you're participating, you're winning. So continue to win throughout the day, and you don't know, you may win a check at the end of the day. Just keep remembering you're winning because you're there. It's the people that make it. It's the people, the fish, and God's creation that make the day. So just enjoy yourself.
Yeah, very good, Jared.
Now, for those of you that are listening, check out some of those previous episodes, and we've got more coming out.